What is up, guys? Welcome back to the arena by Making Moves, where our mission is to help chiropractors make more money, reach more people, and change more lives. And this podcast is for chiropractors looking to grow both personally and professionally. And today, it's all professional. Maybe, we'll see. But I've got Corey Hiben here with me today. I'm excited for this episode. We're going to talk all things SEO, Google Ads, websites, and Corey, you just did a great presentation in our mastermind group, and you talked through kind of the leaky bucket and concept, and then you walk through the three pillars and a secret weapon. And so I've got a lot of really great notes over here that I'm going to ask you about as we move through this episode. But first, tell us how you got into marketing from a demand capture perspective, and also how you got involved with chiropractors.
Yeah, you said professional, but we're going to jump right into personal. So I more or less got into even just the industry of health for reasons of pain. Honestly, like all the biggest changes in my life have always come down to just like really painful moments. Like even thinking back of like how I first got into personal training, a lot of that was from a place of got broken up with when I was super young, and a girl completely tore my heart out. And I went down that path of being very suicidal and depressed, and a lot of challenges from that, being a young age. And ultimately that led me to more or less health and fitness and wellness. And that was the first kind of like pain point in my life that led me down that path of health. Past there, I eventually made my way into college and decided to take a career into occupational therapy and became a occupational therapist. And I was treated in outpatient orthopedics for a while. And again, found another pain point. A big part of my practice was I was required to get my own patients, and which is very rare in that profession. But the clinic that I was set up in, that was a big part of the reason that they hired me, is that like they wanted me to get new patients. And I will be honest, I was a disaster. I was horrible. I tried all the things and none of it worked, from going to local networking events to sending out cold emails to even going as far as sneaking into a doctor's office, which I don't recommend that anybody does. But I was trying everything and anything to try to get new patients. And as I continued to figure out the pain and challenges of doing that and getting better at that, I eventually realized that I actually love the marketing side of things way more than I actually love the patient care side of things. Nothing wrong with patient care. It just like really wasn't where my heart was. And I love people that do it. And obviously we need those kind of people, but it wasn't for me. And as I was getting better at the marketing side of things, is like that was the path I slowly decided to walk down. And I honestly just started with working with like health coaches and personal trainers and gym owners and things of that nature, of helping them with their marketing, whether that was a website design or some basic marketing strategy. And I'll never forget my first ever client. She was a lady that literally just like lived down the street from me. And I found her online, just like searching the internet, and she had a health coaching quote unquote business like down the street from me. And it was literally just like a cold message, a cold email. And I was like, hey, notice you have a website. I do kind of like this marketing stuff. I was wondering if I could help you out completely for free. Because at the time, to be honest, I didn't really have any skills. Like I was just getting into the marketing thing for the most part and trying to figure out like how I could provide value in that space. And she was kind enough to help me out. She's like, yeah, sure, of course. Like working for free. Why the hell would I not do that? And so I helped her with a few projects. She ended up paying me for later projects. And I didn't know it at the time, but she was actually a health coach for other health coaches. And so like she introduced me to her entire network of health coaching coaches. And I started helping all these different people in that space. And I worked with like a lot of different people in the health space ever since then, from personal trainers, like I said, to physical therapists, to OTs, to doctors, to chiros, to health tech companies, to everything and anything in between. So I have pretty much seen the gamut of like health space marketing for the most part. And again, I ran into another pain point of realizing that of all these people in the health space that I could help with, I honestly got fed up with doing, for lack of a better word, trash work. Was I getting them decent results? For sure. But I wasn't getting them the life-changing results that I really wanted to be able to get people. Even as a chiropractor listening to this episode, like you probably know, like the people that get incredible results, what happens? You feel amazing. They feel amazing. They tell their friends and family about you. And this creates this amazing flywheel in your life of results. And I realized like the same thing was happening to me. Is like, yeah, I was helping a lot of people, but I was never incredible at any one of these, which is why I ended up actually eventually shifting to serving predominantly chiropractors. One of them because My fiance, who is a very attractive female, happens to also be a chiropractor. And number two is like these were the people that were getting the best results. I think there's a myriad of reasons for this and why this happens. I think one, it's because like chiropractors are required for the most part, not always, but in a lot of cases to figure out the business and marketing side of things. So they understand like this is something that they need to tap into versus a lot of people in the health space just like don't, and they don't see the value in any sort of like business or marketing related things. So I think that's one aspect of it. And number two, I've made the joke many times that I think in a previous lifetime, had I even known about chiropractic at a younger age, I think it might have been something that I would have tapped into. And the reason that I say that is because like, generally speaking, for my entire life, I take a very holistic approach, a very preventative approach, a very like healthy living style approach. And when you look at the medical field as a whole, there's very few people that are actually doing that. And I'll be honest, even when I was practicing as an OT, there was a small window of time where I was considering going the functional medicine route, which is like, I think, a very adjacent to chiropractic. But again, I didn't even know chiropractic existed at that time. Like it was not even something in my awareness. But in a different timeline, I think it's something I would have ended up doing. But here I am doing the marketing side of things. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, and you're good at it. And you make a good point. Hey guys, I know you're enjoying this episode, but give me 1 second of your time. This is my shameless plug for the Chiro Ads Academy, where we're teaching docs how to bring their Facebook and Instagram ads in-house and generate repeatable, consistent new patients month after month without the headache and hassle of working with digital marketing agencies. It'll not only save you $30,000 a year, but it'll also give you outsized returns. It's the same exact system that we're running inside our 7-figure practice right now. And last month alone, we generated a 34x return on investment. We spent $1,567 in Facebook ad spend and generated over $54,000 from Facebook ads alone. This system is proven, it's tested, and has been installed in over 150 practices across the world, and it can be installed in your practice as well so that you can generate similar results. Click the link in the show notes to watch a free training where I break down every single step of the entire system. And if you like what you hear, book a call so we can see if this system will work in your practice. Click the link below, and I'll see you on the inside. Thanks for your time. Back to the episode. I hadn't really thought about why, I guess, like I have always been interested in how other people from like, the marketing industry or just different product sales industries or service sales industries like come over into chiropractic and like what attracts them to chiropractors. But I think you make a really good point that first off, chiropractors have a lot of skin in the game. Like, dude, $250,000 in debt, and you come out and your expectation is to be able to first off pay off your debt, and then second of all be able to make a really good living while doing something that you love to do and that you're really passionate about. And most chiropractors are really passionate people, and they're passionate about holistic healthcare, and they want to be able to transfer that message and make as large of an impact on as many people as possible. But like you said, we don't get any of that inside of chiropractic school. Like we literally learn nothing about business, about marketing, about how to, package your services and your offering, how to look at any KPI metrics, how to read a profit and loss statement, how to understand how to first off survive as a small business, which 87% of small businesses don't within the first 3 years, which is profound. And then, on the other side of that, hopefully thrive and be able to build an abundant life for yourself and your family. And so first off, thank you for helping chiropractors do that. Because we need more chiropractors to succeed, especially in today's healthcare or sick care landscape. I think we do have the most powerful message in healthcare, and more people need to know about that. And thankfully for you, you are, as you and I have already kind of coined and spoke to, you're the other half of the lead generation work that we do inside the Chiro Ads Academy. So for anybody who's not familiar with the Chiro Ads Academy, that myself and my co-founder Ryan co-own and operate, we help chiropractors generate leads through Facebook and Instagram advertising. And from one of my old mentors, unknowing mentors, somebody who I learned a ton from whenever I was trying to self-educate so that I could survive as a small business, I delved into all of Russell Brunson's work. And, he talks about two different types of marketing, which would be search-based marketing or interruption-based marketing, or search-based traffic and interruption-based traffic. And we went heavy into interruption-based traffic because, like you've already alluded to in the mastermind call that we just got off of, is typically Google SEO and even pay-per-click can take some time. And we were desperate. We were desperate to survive, and we were desperate to make enough money to keep the lights on. And I wasn't going to fail. So we went head first into the most leverageable marketing opportunity that we could find, which was Facebook ads. And it's because we knew that if we put this much money in with this type of ad, that we could analyze the data and we could turn up the dial as necessary, and we could essentially just turn on the fire hydrant from day one. And so that's what we did. But I'm glad that there are people like you that are out there helping chiropractors capture all of the people that are currently searching for holistic healthcare practitioners, especially now with this administration and kind of the landscape and the popularity that holistic healthcare is starting to get. I think people are searching for us now more than ever. And so having someone like you come in and make sure that you are the person that they find whenever they search for a chiropractor in your area is super important and impactful. So let's dive into that. Okay. In your presentation that you just gave, I think you broke it out into really easy to digest and understand concepts. And so you first off, you spoke about, leaky buckets. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that chiropractors have. We talk to hundreds of chiropractors and thousands of chiropractors. And, typically the first question that we ask them is like, what's your biggest pain point? What's your biggest constraint in your business right now? Which has become an in vogue topic with Alex Hormozy rising to this immense popularity, and that being mainly his message in all of his content. But I think it's really important for chiropractors to hear, because I would say initially their answer 99% of the time is new patients. I don't have enough new patients. But then when we start to peel back the layers and actually ask some higher level questions and understand their practice from the inside out, we realize that it's not always a new patient problem. So can you speak to that? Because I imagine you've had some of that experience as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't have mentioned it in your first slide.
Yeah, you mentioned the leaky bucket, and this is something that, because it's so top of mind to me, because it's literally a conversation I just recently had with another doctor, was you're right. Is like most people, their answer is always new patients. I need more new patients. And like, don't get me wrong, I love new patients. I think new patients are amazing. It's literally what I've built my business around, is like getting people new patients. But I think oftentimes is that there's often a bigger issue underneath the layer that we completely forget about, which is what you're alluding to in terms of the leaky bucket, is understanding is like, is it really a new patient issue? Or maybe is it that just the patients that you're seeing are just like dripping out and avoiding, or actually worse yet, going to your competitors? And that's really what's happening at the end of the day for most clinicians, is like, it's not actually a new patient issue. It's that you're losing the patients that you already have. And this is really comes down to, in a lot of cases, even as somebody who hosts my own podcast show, this is something I talk about a lot, because I talk a lot about the business side for chiropractors. And it's like, what does your retention look like? What does your churn rate look like? Like, where are these people going? Because like, they're probably still needing care, or they're searching for care in their local area and they're not finding you. It's like, where are they going? Like, what is happening? Where are these people leaking off to? A perfect example of this is a recent conversation I had with a doctor out of Memphis who he was getting 80 to 100 new patients a month, which is like, in my book, I don't know about your practice looks like, but like, that's a lot. Why are you coming to me for new patients? Like, if you were getting 80 to 100 new patients a month, and you did that even for like, let's say a year, and you were able to retain those, let's say your churn rate was like, let's say like 2-3%, which I've talked to doctors, and that's totally a possible thing, is like, how do you need more new patients? Like, that's crazy to me, unless you have like 17 clinics, which I promise you they didn't. They had one location. So it's like we have to remember is like, there's more to this equation than just like the new patient game. There's also retention game. But in terms of new patients, which is I think something that we're going to talk about in this episode, is like when it comes to like demand capture versus demand generation, is those are two completely different games, which you obviously are incredible at getting the party started and really like doing the interruption marketing, getting people aware that you even exist as a practice. Where we really specialize is capturing the people that are already searching for you. So for example, if anyone is searching for chiropractic near input city, is like, that's really what we help people figure out how to do. So
That's cool. Well, let's talk about how you do that. So let's talk through, if you want to, you can kind of go through a similar framework, because I think that'd be a great framework for this conversation. Let's talk through the three pillars that you presented on, and I have an interest in this, and I'll just go ahead and say candidly, you did the audit on on my website, which I did not approve of, but I'm totally stoked that you did, because it gave me a lot of things to work on. It gave me some action items, but I think there are a lot of docs out there that may think that they're doing well from a Google and SEO standpoint because they have a lot of Google reviews, or they had somebody design a really pretty website or something like that. So let's talk through what allows you to become that local authority and really capture the demand of the search-based traffic in your area.
yeah, and just for the record, I was that guy. I was the guy that would build you a beautiful website because that's all I knew how to do. And to be honest, like if you're seeking out a quote unquote web designer to build your pretty new website, that's cool and all, but honestly, like you would do yourself so much more justice if you found somebody that the wording and the vocabulary that I use is like finding a growth partner. And what I mean by that is like finding somebody that actually genuinely has your interest in mind and actually wants to grow your practice and actually create something that is sustainable, like you said, and long term, and able to help you continue to get patients for the long term. Because like if your plan is to build a very successful practice, it's going to take time, and part of that is going to be getting a really good foundation for that marketing system and strategy. So like again, like I said, that was me. I was that guy that was just like spinning up pretty websites that were more or less nice brochures on the internet that nobody ever found and didn't actually drive any revenue. And so like there's really no value in that, unfortunately. But now is like, now that I know so much more and I've worked with so many other healthcare professionals and everything in the nature, is like I know a lot more now. Obviously there's a lot more to learn, but generally speaking, the basis for everything, the home base and the mothership, I guess you could call it, is your Google business profile. And we're talking obviously to specifically local businesses. Obviously, it's a bit of a different game if we're talking about an online practice. So if you're like a functional medicine practitioner or something of that nature and you're doing everything online, then your home base is probably your website, probably not your Google business profile. But if you are local service-based business, there's really no arguing that that is probably the most important asset at this current moment. And the biggest things that I could give for anybody listening to this episode is like, if you want to make sure your Google business profile is like ready and prepped to capture as many leads as humanly possible in your local area, is number one, make sure it is 100% completely filled out. Fill out all the boxes, insert all of the social media links that it asks you for, fill out your primary categories, multiple secondary categories, all of your services, make sure that all your citations and your address and phone number and all those things are accurate. Make sure that you're consistently getting reviews and coaching people on reviews and like what you actually want them to say in those reviews. And also make sure you're regularly posting updates on it. Like this is something that I so often see people forget, is that you can sort of treat your business profile almost like a social media account, almost like what Travis teaches a lot about, is like, if you're not regularly engaging on this thing, you're not going to show up. And sadly, that's the way that the game is played now with the Google business profile, is like you can post regular updates. Somebody asked me recently on our call about like how often. I generally say at least once a week. If you can do it a couple times a week, that's cool. Again, almost just treat it exactly like you would a social media profile. Make sure it's fully filled out. Make sure it has really good photos. Make sure all the links work. Make sure like there's a good description with keywords. Is like if you treated it just like you did your social media profile, you'd be in front of like 99.9% of people that actually have a Google business profile and drives no traffic to their business whatsoever. So that's pillar number one, I would say. I don't know if I missed anything, but
you know, the way that I digested your material was, I like to break things into frameworks, and it just makes it easier for me to remember and also easier for me to use. And so you broke down something, and it was kind of like three parts to pillar number one, which was your Google business profile. And it's something that I liked because it's something that we do inside of the Chiro Ads Academy. And so we talk about what's called the triad of trust. And so we break it down to relevance, uniqueness, and omnipresence. And so relevance is, condition specific marketing, kind of calling out and solving a problem that they have right now. uniqueness is kind of like your unique selling proposition and really standing out from the rest of the chiropractors in your area. Omnipresence is being everywhere all at once. And it's through what's called the exposure effect, which is everybody knows that, like, or they've heard, right, the statement that you need to see something 7 times in order to trust it or act upon it. And so when you can be omnipresent, you can be everywhere all at once, and they see you multiple times in multiple different places, it increases trust and rapport over time. And then the last one, we always like to say, kind of to tip the scale, the bonus is social proof. And so what I liked how you broke down pillar number one was relevance, proximity, and prominence. And so I'd love for you to kind of talk through each of those three as it pertains to pillar number one, your Google business profile.
Yeah, so you nailed it. The first one that is, and these vary in their importance based on industry, but obviously we're talking to chiropractors, so we'll try to tap into these best that I can. And based on the data that I've seen in terms of like the biggest ranking factor in regards to proximity, like you said, relevance and prominence, is going to be, sadly and unfortunately for a lot of you, is going to be proximity, which means that where your actual clinic location is actually a really big factor. And for a lot of you, you're kind of stuck. And for some of you, maybe you're not, or maybe for some of you, you're looking into this. But I would take a very, very hard look into your proximity of your clinic and how close you are to the people that you ultimately want to be working with. Because love it or hate it, it's chiropractic. There's a lot of you. And it's kind of like restaurants, where generally speaking is like people for the most part will kind of just go to things that are near them, unless they're really compelled to go somewhere far. If it's like they have a lot of amazing reviews, which Travis does, so people will happily drive a long way to go see him because because he has really good prominence, right? He has really good trust and good reasons for people to drive that far. But generally speaking, proximity is number one, is like how close you are to that local location is what Google's going to show up. Number two is relevance, which goes back to making sure your primary chiropractic or primary category is chiropractic, because that's going to be relevant to somebody searching for quote unquote chiropractic near me, or chiropractic Austin, Texas, or Boulder, Colorado, or wherever it is. Make sure that you have good keywords in your description. Make sure that you coach all your reviews or people giving your reviews, and also your replies to those reviews have specific keywords. Obviously, don't make it AI and weird, but definitely have those, because that keeps it more relevant. And also, when you're doing that social media posting that I was talking about earlier, of like regularly posting on there, and make sure you're like, again, you're doing this at least once a week. Again, love it or hate it, keywords come into this factor as well. So when you post on there of like whatever updates are happening in your clinic, maybe you have an event coming up, or maybe somebody got an amazing testimonial and they posted a photo of them holding a sign. I've been seeing a lot of these lately of like this amazing thing that they got. Make sure you put a few keywords in there. And then the last thing is the prominence, which is kind of like, how many reviews do you have? How high quality are the photos are on your website? Do you have citations that are linking back to your site, from like the Yelps to there's a ZocDoc or Yellow Pages or all those things, just making sure that all those different citations are linking. They have your name, they have your address, they have your phone number. They're all linking back to your website. That's the prominence factor. But those are the three things Google's always looking at in terms of a Google business profile, is if they're going to rank you in that local area or not. It's the proximity, how relevant is it, and what's the prominence? In other words, like, do you have a bunch of reviews and is there good keywords? But
That's really good. I've got a few follow-up questions to that and a statement. Proximity is something that has had a larger impact on my practice than I thought it would. So just backstory, whenever we opened our practice here, I actually rented space from another chiropractor, and we were in Central Boulder, and we were brand new, but we were inside of another chiropractic practice. And even though we were brand new and we had no prominence, so we had no social proof, and really we didn't have a ton of relevance because we didn't know how to market at the time. But because we were in Central Boulder, we got a ton of people that came through our website. So we had a lot of website traffic and a lot of new patients that came through Google. Well, it came time for us to actually expand out of that office, or move out of that office into a larger office space. And we moved 3 miles north to North Boulder into this beautiful location that was just like exceptionally crafted. We put so much intention into the space. It was beautiful. Our product was exceptional. And because we moved just 3 miles north and we were just on the outskirts of Boulder proper, our website traffic and the new patients that we were getting through our Google funnel went down significantly. I mean, to the point to where we were getting like, one a month at most. And we actually got tons of objections around people actually driving to North Boulder, which was literally 3 miles. It took them 5 to 8 minutes max to drive from South Boulder all the way to North Boulder, but simply because we were just outside of their comfortable proximity or their convenient proximity, it decreased our traffic significantly. So January 6th, we opened a new office, not a second office, but we just moved locations from North Boulder back to Central Boulder. And immediately we had an uptick in our Google patient traffic. And so proximity has played a huge role in our new patient pipeline. So much so that, I would highly advise and recommend any practices that are either going to open a new location to do more market research on, population density and, like you said, their ideal client avatar, and make sure that your ideal client avatar are inside of the area. And even if you have to pay more money, maybe it's $1,000 extra per month in rent, if you're getting 8 to 10 more new patients, and you know how to package your services, and you know how to convert, and you know how to retain those individuals, we're talking about an additional $16,000 to $18,000 just from those small amount of new patients alone from being in the right location. And I actually had done another audit, kind of like an SEO audit, with another guy who I really enjoyed being around. He was a patient of mine. And the first thing that he told me whenever he looked at ours through, it was some really cool software. You've probably heard of, I can't remember what it was called, like Falcon or Eagle or Phantom. I don't know, some cool name, but it was a software where essentially he went in there and he was able to see how everybody was ranking versus us and all of the factors that led into that. But the first thing that he said was, you either need to move your location as soon as possible, or you need to open a second location, which is exactly what you mentioned in the mastermind call. So can you speak to that just a little bit more about how important proximity is?
Yeah. So there's a doctor, Dr. Michael Henry. He owns a chain of clinics here now in Austin, Texas, called Techstart. But a big part of his practice is exactly that, is that they, generally speaking, have more or less silo locations, because they recognize that the chiropractic industry, again, love it or hate it, it's very similar business model to dentistry. And in the sense that, like, so for me, for example, where I live now, where me and my fiance live now, is that I was needing a new dentist. And what did I do? I went to Google Maps, I looked up a dentist, and I found the dentist closest to me. And that's where I went. Like, there wasn't that much more thought into it. I made sure they had obviously some good reviews. Their website looked decent. They had a lot of things that were some good trust builders, right? But generally speaking, it was like the convenience and the location of it was like arguably the biggest factor. And sadly, that's true for a lot of chiropractic clinics. And so, like, unless you plan on wanting, or unless you desire to see the people in your area, yeah, and oftentimes clinicians figure that out a little too late,
Yeah.
sadly. But yeah, it's a really big factor, generally speaking, of like obviously the type of patients you're going to see, but also like your ability to get more new patients. Is like your proximity is everything. Another example of this is again, another doctor I had on the show. So one of the fastest growing cities in all of America for a while, I don't know if it's still the case, it's called Kyle, Texas. It's just south of Austin. I know a doctor that opened a practice there just before this happened, and unshockingly blew up his business. They have more patients than they know what to do with, just because they're in a
Mm-hmm.
city that is exploding. So yeah, proximity is a huge deal.
Location, location, location. The next question that I have is, I mean, we keep saying the word keywords, and I hear that all the time from
Mm.
people who work in your field. But tell us what keywords are. What does that even mean? And what other keywords can we potentially use to fill our GBP, or Google Business Profile? Because obviously everybody's going to have chiropractic in their Google Business Profile. So are there other keywords that are less commonly used that you could rank higher for, that would also be advantageous for, let's say, maybe a smaller clinic, or just any clinic in general that's looking to get more new patients?
I'm so glad you asked that question, dude. because like one of my favorite things is to define words because otherwise they just become convoluted and we don't actually know what they mean. So, what is a keyword? Phenomenal question. So, arguably speaking, to go back to like the website thing that we talked about earlier of like building a pretty website, that's cool and all. But really, what's way more important, and I would say probably like a 90 to or like 9 to 10 importance of like visuals versus the text on the page is the text is the 9 versus the visuals are the 1. And what I mean by that is that your ability to show up as a clinic, whether it's on your Google business profile or it's your website or it's AI or it's really anywhere on the internet, is the way that it's going to show up is if there's a match between the words somebody puts into a search box and your website or profile or AI information. Is like that's really what a keyword is it's basically a matching of the words of like what somebody's looking for and why you would show up as a clinic. So for example, you mentioned chiropractors, obviously going to be the biggest one. So if somebody types in chiropractic Boulder, Colorado, if those exact same words happen to show up on your website and they also happen to show up in the reviews and they also happen to show up in the description, then Google or the AI or whatever it is that's searching for, it's going to go, oh, this person is looking for these words. Here are these words on the internet, and they deliver that thing for them, right? That's what a keyword is. And then just to expand on that a little bit, just to give you version 2.0, is that there's short keywords and there's what are called long tail keywords. So a short keyword is something like the word marketing or even just the word chiropractic. If I was to put in the search word chiropractic, that's a very short keyword. Do you have any idea how many websites have the word chiropractic? A million, maybe a couple million, I don't know, probably a lot. So like your chances of showing up for the word chiropractic, a short keyword, are zero, almost none. I actually remember I looked up one time. So the domain name for American Airlines, do you realize that their domain name is aa.com? Do you know how much they paid to get aa.com? It was something in like the 100 million number or something like that, just because like that word is so common, right? Like how many people put aa on their freaking aa.com? Like it's the world's shortest, simplest, other than x.com, I guess, because the whole Elon's thing, but I digress. But anyways, is like it's just crazy how short that keyword is. But so then when you look at long-term keywords, which is something that if you are a smaller practice and you don't have the ability to compete for something like chiropractic, or even if you don't have the ability to compete for something like chiropractic Boulder, Colorado, then you start to have to expand out like how long of a keyword you want to show up for, because there's less people that would have this chain of words in a single sentence. So it would be something along the lines of like running, or it could be like chiropractic doctor for ultra endurance athletes or something of that nature, right? So like that's what's called a long-term keyword. And so like when you put that chain of words together, is like there's probably, to give the previous example of like millions for the word chiropractic, how many are for that keyword phrase? Probably not very many, and probably not very many in a specific area, right? So if it was like chiropractic treatment for ultra endurance athlete in Boulder, Colorado, like how many websites have all those chain of words together, especially multiple times on their profile on their website? Probably very few, if any. Actually, I have no idea. I would have to look if that even exists. And if it doesn't, basically what that means is you now have the ability to show up for that quote unquote keyword. And so that's what we mean by keywords. And so like that's really the thing we're trying to optimize, is like understanding what it is, what phrase is, I guess if that's for a better vocabulary that you want to show up for, and then just making sure that those are in your profile and in your website and in your ads and things of that nature.
So like dialing in your ideal client avatar, seeing the people that you want to serve and also that serve your business really well, and then taking those and kind of testing them in like a sequence of words until you start to rank highly, and then you're able to actually track on the back end that you're getting new patients that fit the qualification standards that are searching for those keywords. That's kind of how this works.
100%. And the more specific you can get, the better, right? Like it makes tracking easier, makes conversion easier, it makes your sales easier. Like when somebody finds the perfect person for a chiropractic for ultra endurance athletes in Colorado and they find you, they're so excited. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this exists. Like how you guys actually provide a specific service or offer for this thing? Like, hell yeah, like take my money. And so like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fit for specifically for me.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. What about like just like chiropractor near me? Is that like heavily used? I imagine so.
It is, and that's where you definitely enter the realms of competition, which is why like everything we talked about earlier in terms of like proximity, prominence, and relevance becomes so much more important, because arguably speaking, a lot of your competitors probably don't have a lot of those things. And so like if you are trying to show up for that search term chiropractic near me, which is what everybody wants, right? Like everybody wants that because it is a highly searched for term, not as searched for as like just chiropractor, because that's national or probably global actually. But chiropractic near me is going to take obviously into consideration your local area. So it'll quote unquote autofill if you're in Boulder, Colorado, or wherever you are. And so like, yeah, there's definitely going to be competition for that. And so to be able to show for that is, yeah, you got to be top notch. That's a much tougher game to win for sure.
Yeah, and to kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, whenever you were going through the audit that you ran on my website, you found a few things. So I think whatever software you use, we had ranked like eighth, I believe, and that's not great because first off, we see ourselves as like the premier healthcare center in Boulder. We have the most Google reviews by far. And we want to be ranked number one in all categories, and we ranked number eight, and I saw some of the top seven, and I'm like, trash, 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 trash. So I was kind of like a hit, to the ego a little bit, that we were ranking so low. And so a few things that action items that you gave me, which I'm really thankful you did, was a few simple things, which was first off, respond to all our Google reviews, which we never do. And we've had conversations about this in the past, and we just need to assign or delegate this to a person on our team, but we have not done a good job of responding to our Google reviews. And mainly that's because we get so many. And so it's something that we'd have to do pretty frequently, but obviously it's important. And the second thing was posting updates. So just like you said, kind of using it like a social media page. So why did those two things, responding to Google reviews and posting updates, help you in your ranking?
Yeah, in the shortest way I can explain it is prominence. Really, is like Google now, because there's so many people on the platform and so many people competing for attention, is that they want to make sure that you are a trustworthy source. And one of the ways that they determine if you are a trustworthy source is if you are regularly using the account. Because if like imagine somebody puts up a Google business profile account and like never uses it, Google immediately starts to go like, okay, is this actually a legitimate business? Like, are they doing things correctly there? Is this just spam? Is this some sort of like other country that just happened to black hat an account and set it up here? Because like side note on like black hatting stuff, you mentioned the proximity thing of like location dependent. Is like I know people that have literally like stayed at hotels, and then because I don't know if you know this, but like you probably do, but one of the ways that you can register a Google business profile account is that you put the address and then they send you a mail card, and then you basically have to like receive the mail card in the mail, and then you put in that special code, and that proves that you're an actual location based business. And I know people that have like stayed in hotels and got the code delivered there just so that they could get a proximity location, just so
Mm.
that they had more proximity within the local area and set up a quote unquote ghost location. I don't recommend anybody does this, because they will happily ban and delete you when they find out that you're doing this. But the shortest answer I can give you is to like why that's so important is that it's a trust signal. Like everything for them is trust. Is like they want to make sure that you are a trustworthy business, and that if they're going to drive potential patients and traffic to your business and your profile, that they can trust you. And those things tell them that they can trust you. It's like you're responding, you're active, you're engaged with the community, everything of that nature, just like social media.
Got it. So the AI rewards engagement.
100%.
And then the next one, what was the next one? Posting updates. Same thing. Just it shows that you're an active business, and again, it rewards engagement. So the engagement goes both ways.
Yeah, and it also shows like it's a trust thing as well, because like it also shows involvement in the community. Because a big part of the posting the updates is like oftentimes it is like events that you're hosting or things that have happened in the local area. So it just shows it's another trust builder. So yeah, spot on.
Got it. Okay, so let's dive into pillar number two, which we've already hit on a little bit, but I'd love for you to break it down. So you broke down again another short and easy to digest framework on the website, and so one thing that I thought was interesting, and I put in my notes here, was that pillar one and pillar two were SEO, And then pillar number 3 was the express lane. So I'm excited to get to pillar number 3. But in pillar number 2 was the website. And what I liked about this is you made it very easy to understand. You need a clear message, you need social proof, and you need a strong and clear call to action. And I liked how you talked about the strong and clear call to action being above the fold, or like the first thing that you see as soon as you get to the web page, because I think you even mentioned this, like somewhat upward of like 90% never make a first scroll. So like they need to land on your page, they need to know exactly what you stand for, who you serve, and then give them an opportunity to book an appointment. So you break that down for me?
Yeah. So, two things I want to make sure that we hit on this is that one is that you're spot on in terms of most people will never make it past the fold, as we call it, or as you called it, the scroll. Same thing. But basically, the second somebody lands on your site, you have maybe 3 seconds to deliver three things. What do you do? What problem do you solve? And what action do you want people to take next? So, for example, it would be, what do you do? I do chiropractic care for endurance athletes in Boulder, Colorado. What problem do you solve? I help injured athletes get back to competing in their events. Number 3, what action do you want them to take next? Click this button to book a call or schedule an appointment or whatever the hell your call to action is. You have to answer those 3 things almost immediately, or it's very unlikely you're going to convert that lead because of exactly what you just said, is that they are very unlikely to scroll and they're very unlikely to spend any more than 3 seconds. Because for the most part, when people are searching for things on the internet, when you think about your own browsing behavior, is you're trying to solve a problem, and you're trying to solve a problem relatively quickly. We actually just recently, this is a sign of it, sort of adjacent, but we recently just set up an AI voice thing for when the clinics closed recently to my fiance's clinic. And the reason we did this was because like oftentimes people would call when they're not open and then they would just hang up, and that's like a lost lead forever. We're like, okay, so like how do we start capturing it? So we set up an AI thing, and I listened to a recent transcript of somebody that just used the AI thing, and I could very quickly tell, sadly, they got very frustrated by having to like, first they had to say their name, and then they had to spell their name, and then they had to say their last name, and then they had to spell their last name, and then they had to say their entire phone number. And you could tell the person on the other end of the line was like getting agitated. Okay, we'll take that, and it's equally true on the internet, but like probably like tenfold, right? Is like people are just like trying to get the solution to their problem. It's one of the reasons why AI has become as popular as it is because like people are just trying to get to the solution. And so like your website immediately needs to answer those questions. What do you do? What problem do you solve? What action do you want people to take next? That's like, that'll solve most of your problems, and also making sure your website loads really quickly. And then the other things too is like the second point I was going to make is like just making sure that your Google business profile is parallel to your website. So anything you fill out on your Google business profile, from like the main categories to the services and everything that you offer on there and the keywords, all those things are also adjacent to your website, because those things come together as a pairing, and it's a holistic approach to marketing and SEO, because people forget that actually Google's not stupid. The crawlers aren't stupid. The AI systems aren't stupid. Is like they're taking all of these things into consideration, whether you realize it or not. They don't live independently. So making sure that those things match up and you have all the different services pages for the same services that you offer on your Google business profile, super important.
That's good. And then you also mentioned on our website that there was something that we could improve, which was adding the location to what's called our H1 tag. Can you tell us what an I've heard of H1 tag, and I was kind of familiar with that before, but I liked how you broke it down. And then just as a simple note, what you said and kind of like the formula there was add what you do plus where you are in your H1 tag. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So back to that holistic approach, which I think a lot of chiropractors can resonate with and understand, just that aspect of like looking at the bigger picture, is that again, text is the biggest factor of what Google's looking at. So it's looking at the H1 tag, which is quote unquote like your header. It stands for header 1. So you have header 1 through header 2 all the way to header 6. But your H1 is the main one that Google will crawl and look at. So when it's trying to find for somebody that's searching for chiropractors in a local area, what Google's going to look at is it's going to look at, okay, what is the relevance chiropractic, so that has to be in the H1 tag. And where is it? It's in Boulder, Colorado, and making sure that's in the H1 tag. If it's not, Google's going to cruise past that and it's going to go, must not be in Boulder, Colorado. We're going to go into the next one, right? So making sure that your H1 has that, and also as like, again, I like to give like little 2.0 versions. Also making sure that's equally true in your meta description and your title tag, which is basically just a fancy way of saying if you were to go to Google and you're to type in any phrase, doesn't matter, we'll say Boulder, Colorado for the sake of this example, is that you'll notice that there's a little bit of text next to the link, and also a description under that link on that Google page. That's what a meta tag and a description tag is. So again, Google's looking for those things. If someone's trying to match that keyword of chiropractic in a local city, is making sure that your meta tag, your description tag, and also your H1 all have those phrases in it, because then Google's like, oh, this is obviously the right match. We should obviously put this website in front of this person because this is exactly what they're looking for. So just making sure that those are all there.
That's good. Yeah. One of the things that we had been advised to do, and we actually did this, was we actually changed our DBA to Move Chiropractic Boulder, which was essentially putting the service that someone was searching for and the location that they were searching for it into our brand name. And we actually saw an immediate lift in traffic right after we did that. So I think that's a low-hanging fruit that people could use probably today. Now, I do know that a lot of times you can go in there and you can edit your name in your GBP, and sometimes it will be accepted. It was in ours. However, I've heard of different instances where if you're it doesn't always work that easily. Is that right? Like sometimes you can go in there and you can try to do things like that, and Google will actually like flag your account. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a very easy way to get suspended. I'll be honest. Is like, if it works, will it help with your rankings? 100%. But yeah, you're going to run the risk of getting audited and getting suspended. I would doubt that they would ever actually delete your account. What will probably happen is they'll suspend it, and then they'll make you change it, and then you'll have to like submit a bunch of paperwork and you'll get it back up. So it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it's a very quick and easy way to get flagged.
Yeah. So the safe way to do that, from my experience, was to go to the Secretary of State and then actually file for a DBA and actually change your name to Move Chiropractic Boulder as your DBA. And then you could use that paperwork for verification. And then you could actually change it in your Google business profile to Move Chiropractic Boulder, which is exactly what we did.
The other thing I was like sort of thinking about recommending to you, I didn't, because like it's I don't know. So like one of the other biggest factors for ranking in regards to SEO and search terms is the URL, the actual link of the website. And so your website, I believe, is moveboulder.com.
Yep.
Honestly, like if it was Move Boulder Chiropractic, I would wonder, I don't know for sure. There's no guarantees in marketing, but I would think it might actually improve your ranking. Because like when I looked at where your website ranked compared to your competitors, is that you had a lot of the other trust building factors and a lot of the other things that would ideally make you rank higher, but you had other competitors that were actually beating you. And I honestly think it's because of their domain names, because their domain names was like Clinic, Chiropractic, Boulder, or whatever it was. And like yours just didn't have that chiropractic in the domain name. I'm not saying you should do this, but it is just worth something considering. So
Yeah, that's good. Cool. And then let's talk about pillar number 3, aka the express lane. I'm all for the express lane, man. I'm about fast cash. I want analytics that I can see. Am I getting a return on this investment right now? And I want to make as much money as fast as possible. Pillar number 3 is totally my style, and it is Google Ads. So why do you talk to us about Google Ads? Because from your perspective, it gives you instant visibility, more targeted reach, and a measurable ROI. And dude, you're speaking my love language there. So let's dive into that.
yeah. So the other things that we were talking about is I like to use the analogy of it's planting a tree, right? It's going to take time and it's really important. And it's actually, I would argue the other methods are in the long run that actually, I can almost guarantee you, will provide you with better results. And the reason they'll provide you with better results is because in the long run, it'll lead to more patients that you really don't, for the most part, have to spend money for, is they're going to organically find you without you having to spend money to get them. Now, if you want to take the express lane, I'm not saying you can't do one. I'm not saying you can't do just like one or the others. Like you could definitely do them both. Is that yes, the ads are an incredible way to get them very quickly. It's just a matter of also taking a bit of a long-term approach to this one as well. Not nearly as long as the SEO game, but again, the reason I want to front load this conversation with saying like this is also a bit of a long game as well is that what most people think is that they can go on and just run some Google ads and that'll immediately lead to new patients. And unfortunately, it won't immediately. It will eventually, but not immediately. Because what happens is you're going to test out a bunch of keyword phrases. You're going to test out a bunch of ad texts. You're going to test a bunch of call to actions. And most of them won't work for the most part, especially when you start running them. And it's also a bit of a confusing platform if you've ever used Google Ads before. And you're going to spend a bunch of money and you're not going to see any results. And what most people do is they're going to quit and they're going to give up and they're going to go, Google Ads don't work. No, Google Ads don't work for you. And so like you have to figure out like what are the keyword phrases, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, is like what are the things specifically in your area that people are searching for, and what are the call to actions that people are actually willing to click on and convert to. And once you find the winner, that's when it turns into a really leading express lane, fast lane to getting those results. Because now you can actually start understanding of like, oh wow, if I put in $1, I'm getting 10 out, versus before I was putting one in and maybe getting one out, or one in and 0 out, or one in and 3 out. But like once you find the one that's like 1 to 10, that's when you start pouring the money into it and you can see a lot faster return, or a lot higher returns on it. But again, like definitely go into it understanding there's a budget. Definitely go into it understanding that it will take a little bit of time to find those. Ideally, if you want the shortcut version of how to do this, is just look to your competitors and see like what they're doing, because that'd be assuming they've been doing it for a while. There's probably a reason they're doing the same thing again and again for a while. It's because it works. So like you can kind of hack that, or you can look to other agencies like me that are doing this for other clinics. This is another way to kind of cheat code the system, is like look at who they're working with and what ads they're running, because they've probably already tested a lot of things. So then you don't have to test them yourself. Just copy what they're doing, do the same thing in your local area. That's a way to kind of short track that.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people that have tried running Google ads themselves that did not have a good experience. They did not generate results. And so I've heard a lot of people say Google ads don't work for me. I do know that like the Google ad platform is pretty confusing. And that's really interesting to me because, Facebook, and I think we may have talked about this too. Facebook spends a ton of money on R&D for user experience because they want it to be as simple as possible. So I know like Facebook's main priority with their ad platform is to improve the user experience and usability so that every small business in the world can go on there and spend money, because that's where they generate 99.97% of their revenue. And I'm sure Google makes most of their money through the ad platform as well. So I'm wondering why they haven't taken a playbook out of Facebook's and made it easier to do. But from my understanding, it's not that easy yet. So although we teach people how to run their own Facebook ads, and there's like a average 11.4x ROAS across all the docs inside of our program because it's pretty simple to run your own Facebook ads. It's not the same for Google ads. So why is it complicated? And why have they kind of consolidated the expertise down to agencies like you?
It's a bit of a conspiracy theory answer, but honestly, I think it's because they want you to spend money and they want you to burn that money
Interesting.
on trying to figure it out. Because,
But you
like,
would think they would want you to see success so you spent more money.
I agree. I know. I totally agree. And I think they are moving in that direction. And we did have this conversation on my podcast because I remember you talking about that, because I did find the parallels very interesting of how the metas or the socials are so much easier than Google, because I agree. I know Google's slowly moving that direction. I've noticed they put some AI stuff on there now that kind of autofills a lot of that for you, from like the keywords to like which buttons you should select. And they've started to try to make it easier, but based on what I've seen, it doesn't always select the right option or use the right things. And so there is, I guess, one thing I can say is like if somebody is looking to do this themselves, a tool that I use specifically, and other people could use as well, there is a fee to use it, just so I'm very transparent. It's called Search Atlas. And basically it does kind of put like bumper rails on setting up your ads. It does a whole host of other things, from like tracking your keywords and your metrics, and it does a lot of cool stuff. So it's a kind of an expensive tool, but generally speaking, it does put kind of bumper rails on it, because like, yeah, it's a very confusing platform still, even to this day. And I don't know why, but it is, sadly.
Cool. Let's dive into the secret weapon, as you called it, which is local service ads, which is something I had questions about. And we even had a couple docs that were asking questions about the local service ads as well. So tell me about the LSAs, because this is something where until I did my own research, I was pretty confused on which placements were LSAs versus the sponsored pay-per-clicks or the pay-per-clicks. And from my understanding now, kind of the LSAs are what's showing up at the very top, which is going to be like your sponsored section, and then the pay per clicks are going to be showing up more in the map view. Is that correct?
Vice versa. But yeah, you have the right
Vice
idea.
versa.
Yeah. Yeah. So to play off of the fact that the traditional pay-per-click Google ads are relatively confusing, LSAs are the opposite. Like, incredibly simple, especially for chiropractors for the most part, is like literally it's a matter of just getting approved for it. So I think they used to be called Google guarantees, I believe is what they used
Oh
to be
yeah, Google
called.
Guaranteed. That's right. Yeah, because it makes you go through a full approval process, and I think in some of these instances you have to get background checks on
Yeah.
your staff members. Okay.
100%. Yep. And so there's only specific industries that they let you run these for. They used to be, again, traditionally for like plumbers or HVACs or things of that nature. But chiropractors are luckily happen to be one of those. But in terms of like setting them up, it's basically like you have to get approved for it. Then you pick your area, which is kind of an important factor of making sure that you're only picking an area or a radius close to you so that you're not getting leads outside of your radius, just like what we were talking about before, how important it is to have good proximity. So just making sure you're choosing your proximity within your area. And then you set a budget. I think basically like the lowest budget you can start with, I think is like $250 or something like that, or $300. Generally speaking, what you end up paying, what I've seen is like $50 or $60 per lead. And you only get charged that lead if somebody actually clicks and calls. And so like what Travis was just saying is like, it's generally, that's why it shows up on the map pack, because it's traditionally like a call lead, not a click
Mm,
lead. So a
got
click
it.
lead, a pay per click, is where you're going to see it on like the Google actual search page, versus Google Maps is where you see LSAs, which is why it's a call lead. Because generally speaking, like when people click there, they call immediately and try to schedule an appointment. And so generally they're very high intent leads for the most part, which is why it's such a great platform.
Got it. So that seems like a better place to put money. If you are a local service business, simply because the thing that I starred in all caps here is that you only pay when a patient actually calls or messages you, and you just pay for qualified leads. You're not paying per click. Whereas, as the name implies, the pay per click or the Google ads, you're literally just paying for clicks. So I guess that then goes back to pillar one and pillar two, which was, whenever they're clicking in, you have to make sure that everything is congruent first off on the pay per click Google ad. And then if they make it to your website, then we got to make sure that all of that is congruent as well, and that you're using text to sell people and not just images and all of those things. So I can see where the congruency of all of this comes into play.
Yeah, and one final note on that as well is that you are actually allowed to let them know like how quote unquote qualified the lead is, because like sometimes for whatever reason like
Mm.
you'll get a call from somebody that's like maybe they're even out of the country or out of the state or something like that, and then you can let Google know that, and oftentimes they'll just reimburse you for that because like they didn't actually give you a qualified lead. The whole point of the platform is for them to only give you specifically like good high quality leads. That's the goal of it. I'm not definitely not saying that's what always happens, but as that's the point of the platform.
Okay, so quick question on that. I've heard also in the past that there were like different like robo clicks or robo clickers or something that would go in and like click on your ad to burn up your ad budget. Is that something that you've experienced in the past?
I have not seen a lot
Never
of
heard of
that.
that? Okay,
No.
interesting.
That
That's good to
sounds
know.
that sounds horrible. And I guess what I have heard is if you want to be a real a-hole is to like if you have competitors in the area, just like, click on their ads a bunch of times and make them spend a bunch of money. But
Yeah.
that's kind of a real dick move. I don't recommend anybody does that. Karma's a real thing and I believe in it. So don't do that. But no, I've not heard of the bot thing.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just kind of close up here with the last question, which was something that you touched on. I know a lot of people are using ChatGPT and AI now as a search engine, and it seems like there is a possibility that it could take over in the future to be the most popular search engine. And I know myself, like the way that I use AI and converse with AI on a daily basis, like it is pretty much my search engine. And I use it to point me in the direction of resources instead of going to Google first. So can you just kind of like just share your opinion first off on the usage of AI right now, and also the things that you can do if you are worried about kind of showing up and being the recommended chiropractor in your area by ChatGPT or other AI platforms?
Yeah, it's a hot topic and everyone loves to talk about it, and including myself. But based on some of the people that I follow and admire in a lot of ways that are probably way smart, actually, I should say, I know are way smarter than me, and people that are constantly digging into this data, and people that I know have been doing SEO and things of that nature for 10, 15, 20 years, is that I can pretty much guarantee you that there are far less people using it to actually drive business and to find certain search things related to their area than people think there are. I think that we all kind of live in our echo chamber and our bubble of people that regularly use it. But when I think about, I literally just called my dad this last week, and he's not necessarily that old. He's 63, I think he is. And I was like, Dad, do you use AI? And he's like, not really. And I was like, it's interesting, right? Because like you, Travis, I use it all the time, every day, regularly, almost obsessively. I probably spend at least 3 hours a day using it in some form or fashion. But for most people, for the most of the population, no, there's actually not as many people using it as you think there are. And so like I say that to give people context of like the bigger picture of the doom and gloom of how like AI is taking over and it's going to kill us all and it's stealing all the traffic and yada yada. The numbers that I've seen are like in the single percentages in terms of like how much search traffic is actually being gobbled up by AI. Now, all that being said, are we going the direction of more and more and more people over the years using it? 100,000%. But at the moment, it's really nothing to fear and doom and gloom again, at least for an extended period of time. Now, if it is something you want to nerd out on, and it is something you want to start considering today, which is something I think you should, some of the things that I have noticed of a lot of people, again, in the space that have been using it and figuring out like how do you quote unquote win in the AI marketing game, or how do you show up as best chiropractic in your local city on ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or whatever, name your service. How do you do that? Based on what I've seen is like the biggest places where it's pulling its sources from. Because keep in mind, all it's doing is it's gathering a bunch of information, pulling from sources, and then delivering you essentially a message. Is as crazy as it sounds, it's things like Reddit, it's things like Quora, it's things like local PR related things. So like your local news or your local insider or whatever your local PR related things are, is those are the main places at the moment where it's honestly pulling a lot of these. So for whatever reason, if your clinic is super active on like Reddit or Quora or something like that, or even Yelp is another big one as well. Like these are the primary sources it's pulling its information from at the moment. Because like if you were to type best chiropractic near me on your Google page versus your Gemini, you're going to get two completely different answers for the most part. And it's because they're pulling from completely different sources. But if you wanted to win on the AI game, I'd be playing and dabbling more in those like message-based platforms, I guess you could say, or your PR platforms.
Got it. All right, man. Thanks for that. Let's just wrap this up. I mean, just a quick review. Three pillars: Google Business Profile, your website, and both of those contribute to your SEO ranking. You've got pillar number 3, which is your Google ads, and that's kind of the express lane. And then you have your secret weapon, which is local service ads. And all of these are things that you help chiropractors with. Yes.
Yep, spot on. Nailed it.
Yep. So I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I know you did an audit for me, and you did it for me for free, without my permission, but you did it for me for free. And so would you be open to like us leaving a link down below the show notes, maybe, and giving people an opportunity to go through the same process that I did? Because I think you gave me some really great action items that I could take away and implement today.
Yeah, happily. I can give you the link. It'll be chiroxmarketing.com/Stewart. And if anyone, I'll happily extend the offer. If anybody goes there and just drops all I need is really your name, your email, and whatever your business, your website is. If I have that information, I'd be happy to look things over for you and give you more detailed, exactly what I did with Travis, of like giving you some more specific and detailed information of like, what are the gaps and ultimately what are the opportunities in your practice? And then there's no obligation. You can take it and do it yourself and make all those fixes. And yeah, happy to.
Yeah, it was a ton of help for me. Honestly, the mastermind call was a ton of help. This podcast has been really great as well. I'm sure it was super valuable for the listeners. So, is there anywhere else that they could find you? I know you have a great podcast. I've listened to several episodes. I really enjoy it. So, just tell us where to find you on social media, and maybe even your URL, which I know you already said, and then your podcast as well.
Yeah, chiroxmarketing.com. And then I would love if anybody also wanted to, if you're into podcasts and you love Travis and you like chiropractic and you like business and you like marketing, I think you might like my podcast show as well. Because like that's really all we talk about, is ideally talking to practitioners that really want to grow 7-figure practices, which if you want, check out Travis's episode. We had him on there and it was a killer. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being here, Corey. I really appreciate you. And I look forward to doing this again sometime soon.